Hi, welcome to my latest video. Today I am going to be trying to replace this, which is the horrible black plastic factory duct which goes down to the turbo. Okay, so it's the thing that kind of sits down there, okay, and always leaks oil from this joint here. I'd already replaced the other half of the duct with blue silicone hose and nice sort of aluminium joiner pipes, but I'd never got round to doing this bit. Now earlier today, I've been replacing the hard brake line, okay, because when I fitted my new uprated brakes, I tried to fit this braided hose and I accidentally twisted the hard brake pipe. Okay, it wasn't leaking, but I was a bit nervous about driving it like that, so I did the right thing and I bought the pipe and I fitted it, and it was an absolute job from hell. It really was, running it over there. So I've had to remove the scuttle, remove the firewall panel and the ducting, including this thing. Okay, so down at the turbo end there is this sort of little joiner bit. Okay, so this kind of comes, it's just a little short bit of rubber hose with lots of knobbly bits on it. Okay, and that has a jubilee clip onto this, and then one of those, where is it, let's find it, one of these things, compression kind of clip onto the actual mouth of the turbo. So let's have a quick look down there and see if we can see the turbo. There it is. Okay, there is the turbo, and you can actually see the compressor fan blades in there. Okay, well no, actually no, that's the turbine. That's the, yeah, it's the compressor turbine blades. I've got to get the terminology right. So that is the side that pumps up the air. Okay, so the actually think about it, the turbine is on the exhaust side. Okay, so that gets blown around by the exhaust gases, and then the air side is a compressor. Okay, so I guess fan blades are probably the right word for that. It's sucking air in and compressing it, and the air comes from the air filter. Okay, so from the wing down, in, through the air filter, across, and then down through the turbo, and then down across the pipe at the bottom of the engine, up through the intercooler, and then up and up the front of the engine into the throttle body here. Okay, so there's a lot of hose, a lot of joints, and a lot of scope for leaks and underboost errors being generated, etc, etc. Okay, so intercooler hoses are one of the weak points on the Freelander 2, the other being the rear diff. I probably hear of more people having issues with intercooler hoses than any other thing on the car. Okay, so I've replaced all of my intercooler hoses, all of them, all four, from the turbo. So there's an elbow, and then there's 1, 2, so 1, 2, 3, one at each end of the intercooler, and then a short one here. Okay, all four can fail, and the most likely cause of them failing is them sort of rubbing on the bodywork or something like that and kind of getting ripped basically, and then they just fail. Okay, the one down here is particularly troublesome. Okay, so I think on the Evoque they've actually made a sort of one-piece duct or one-piece hose. I think it's a one-piece hose, goes all the way from the intercooler all the way up into the throttle body without that short pipe, because I've even heard of people who have actually had the pipe itself split open. It's a plastic pipe, and you'd think the hose would be the weak point, but no, the pipe can fail as well. Okay, so one of the first things I did when I bought this car was replace all of the intercooler hoses with nice blue silicone ones, and I also did this sort of intake duct. Now I remember when I first did that, a lot of people sort of laughed and said, "What an idiot, why are you doing that?" And it will never catch on, and various other words of discouragement. But everybody's doing it now, so yeah. Well, I just sort of you know, happy that I tried something and it worked, and a lot of other people are now doing the same. Okay, so yeah, should have patented that really, but never mind. So yeah, it's well worth getting rid of all the factory hoses and also that horrible duct that goes across here, because it leaks oil. Oil comes up from here, which is the rocker, they call it the rocker cover. There's no rockers really, I don't think. It's a sort of cam cover thing. There's a PCV valve in there, positive crankcase ventilation valve, with sort of diaphragm in there. Now that's actually there to prevent diesel runaway. A lot of people think it's there to sort of, I don't know, build a slight bit of crankcase pressure or something like that, or keep the crankcase negative or whatever. It's not. It's because if you get a diesel runaway situation where the engine is running on the turbo oil, and literally you take the key out and you walk away and the engine is still screaming mad at max revs, then that diaphragm will close, okay, because it gets sucked down, I think, onto the pipe. So if there's too much vacuum being applied to that rocker cover, it blocks and stops the oil mist from going round, kind of keeping everything running. Now, thinking about it, if it's coming from the turbo, I don't think that's going to actually change anything. It would certainly prevent diesel runaway from the crankcase oil mist, but turbo oil, if it's getting into the intake air, that's not going to change anything. Okay, so I'm going to probably get rid of that diaphragm there. I've got an oil catch can, so there shouldn't really be too much oil. There's a little bit of oil gets past the catch can, a little bit. It's not too bad. Okay, so we look into here, it's a little bit damp in there, but it's not dripping with oil. All right. What can happen is this joint up here it just leaks oil. But certainly if you've got the factory duct, the joint is really not a good joint, and oil will come up from the crankcase up through this hose here. You won't have a blue hose, probably you'll have a black hose, but it goes across and through there, and then it just goes straight into the intake duct. So you get all that oil. I fitted a catch can here. Okay, so this is a catch can, which again, people laughed at me and said, "It's not needed, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're doing," and now everybody's fitting them. Okay, so catch can is there to remove the oil from the blow-by gas. You shouldn't really be dumping blow-by gas out into the atmosphere, okay, because that will fail the MOT, and it's also just going to drip oil wherever you park. Okay, so it gets ducted back round and into the intake across, but there is always going to be a little bit that drips from that joint. No matter how good you make that joint, you're still going to get a bit of oil drippage, and it goes down onto the red hot turbo. So if you ever get a kind of burning oil smell after driving really fast, that's probably what it is. Okay, and you'll notice if I have a look in here, it's difficult to see, but that turbo hose there, let's see if I can zoom in a bit. There it is. It's pretty black. Okay, there's a bit of blueness there. It is actually a bright blue hose, but it's so black with oily residue and just general dirt, because this joint here was still leaking a bit of oil, and it would run down this duct. You can almost see it. I'm almost wondering if the oil actually collected at the bottom and then it was this joint which actually leaked. But anyway, oil was getting down there somehow. So I've made the decision, get rid of this and replace it with something better. Okay, so I had to remove this to do my brake pipe, and ages and ages ago I put this together. I'm talking years ago, years and years and years. I bought these bits of pipe and hose and then it sat and it waited and it waited and waited, and I never got round to doing it. It was just never a good time to sort of start messing around pulling that duct out. But today I've had to do it. I've had to remove that duct. So I said to myself, right, if I'm removing it, it's not going back on the car. I'm going to put this on. So what we have here is a 70mm diameter, I think it's 70. Yeah, 70mm, 400mm long aluminium joiner. It's a bit scratched up, unfortunately, now, because it was lovely and shiny when I bought it about 4 years ago, but it's been sort of kicking around, so it's a bit scratched up. I might actually just get another one to replace it with one that's not scratched, but for now I need to get this car back together and get it on the road. So we've got 70mm to 60 reducing elbow from Auto Silicone Hoses, and then a short, let's sort of feel how long that is, it's about a 200mm long joiner, 60mm, and then a 60 to 60. Okay, now you've got to make the reduction somewhere. This is 70, the turbo inlet is 60, so I'm going to run it 70 and then take it to 60 as it goes down. Why am I taking it to 60 before it goes down rather than at the bottom? It's because there's not a lot of room here. Okay, so that's quite a tight fit, and a 70 would probably fit, but it's going to make it even more difficult to do the elbow at the bottom, because it's got to do a 90 degree turn into the turbo. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold up the old duct against, so let's have a look. So there you go, look at that. That's pretty similar thing there. Now don't forget, this had a, where's the thing gone? There it is, thrown it away. Need that now. Okay, so this with that on, so that sort of went on like so. Well, it's such a loose fit, no wonder it was leaking oil. Even with a clip on, that would have probably still leaked. Okay, so that hose there is about I don't know, half an inch, 12mm or so too long. But I'm going to try and fit it like it is. I think it will still go on. If it doesn't, I'll cut that down a bit. Okay, and then I'll sort of build it up from the bottom up. Put that one in. I've got to put some jubilee clips on here and bring it up and then take it across the top. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken this elbow off and the long pipe, and I've jubilee clipped this piece to the 60mm elbow and just sort of lowered that down, and then in here, working in under the wheel arch, and it is quite cramped, I've managed to get that onto the turbo mouth, okay, and tighten up a jubilee clip on that. Okay, so that's the tricky bit done. I now need to fit this elbow and join it up with the rest of the ducting. I've just put a bolt in here because that was missing and this cover was loose. God knows how long that's been like that and where the original bolt went, but that's an M6 bolt into a sort of threaded insert, and then I put another one here because the old thing had a brackety thing at the top, okay, which sort of kind of bolted up all of this, and that's gone now. So I've just had to put another M6 bolt with a nylock through there to hold that power steering hose in position. Now I'm now ready to put this on here, so I've got the jubilee clips sort of ready, but I don't know how far down to push it. Okay, so you'll notice of course that the bulkhead is missing. That's there. I'm going to be spraying that and cleaning that up and rust proofing it and whatever. I'll be fitting that tomorrow. Okay, so just for now I just want to get this duct fitted, just so that I can start the car. Otherwise it's going to be breathing unfiltered air, you see, so I just want to start the car, get the wheel back on, and take it down off the jack. And I need to go for a test drive, test the brakes that I did earlier today. But in order to drive the car, I need this duct refitted. So this one is here. It's a bit of a tight fit, but it's all in there. Fuel hoses are clipped. There was a kind of a clip further down on this one for the fuel hoses, so I may need to sort of cable tie them to that coolant hose or something. Gotta be really careful, because I have seen issues where they've just caught the pulley and then it's sliced in and cars cut out and diesel's pouring out underneath, all because the fuel hoses were not clipped in. Now that's these hoses here. Ah, well there's another clip at the bottom here. Okay, so that's solid. They're not going anywhere. Okay, I think that extra clip. Oh, I don't know. Oh, there's a lot of movement. There's a funny thing here, bracket thing here with loads of movement in it. Okay, alright, maybe I ought to play safe and get a cable tie round those. I just don't, you know, they do move quite a bit, okay, so I don't want that. Right, so I'll do that first, then I'll put this on and reconstruct this duct across here. Right, I've cable tied the fuel pipes to what I think is a coolant pipe. I think it's the pipe that goes to the bottom of the expansion tank. That's solid now. This is sitting there. There's this funny sort of thing here. I think it's where they fill up the air conditioning. It's got a funny little thing on it, little tab thing. Push that down a bit. Okay. Alright. That'll do. That's fine. Right, let's get some of this connected back in. Okay, so here we have the old duct. I need to undo this one, so I need to take this 300mm pipe off and exchange it for the 400. So let's undo that. Come on. Right. Oh, there we go. A little bit black inside, but not too bad. Okay, so this goes here. Let's just put that loosely on there. Get a feel for the alignment. Right, that's a bit out of alignment. Needs to be more like so. That can lift up a little bit. Now the question is, will the 400 fit? Ooh, it will. Okay, it's going to go about 40mm into each end, but that's okay. The old pipe was similar. Right, let's get this one in here. I'm not doing up any of these jubilee clips until this is all settled in. Come on, get in there. Oh dear. Turn that so that it's got a non-scratched side up. Come on. Let's get that. Just there, I'm not going to tighten it, I'm just going to do it loose. use the step ladder because the car is still up on the jack and the axle stands. This is really quite difficult. Right, okay, that's okay, it's a bit wonky. Right, how does that look? That looks good. Just got to kind of adjust it and then tighten everything off. Something's not right here. Right, I need to tighten this one, I think. That's going in about 40 millimeters into each end. That's not sitting there quite nicely. Yeah, I think that's pretty good actually. Right, I'm going to tighten things up. Try and do this. Let's do it with those on top. Okay. Now I used to use Michelor clamps, but they just weren't sealing properly. I switched to Jubilees. Right. Okay. I think I will have to change this for one that's not been bashed around. This is a bit scratched up. But that's in. I need to do this end. Yeah, let's just get that tightened. Alright, now I need to do that one. Now, I've got to be really careful here because there is a wiring loom here. I don't want the Jubilee clip to cut into. Right, last bit is my catch can hose back into the intake. Onto there. I think that is it. Just got to tighten up a couple more. And then I can actually start the engine. Right, there we go. Give it a bit of a wipe over. Right, there we go. Even more blue silicone hose. Soon every hose will be blue silicone. Okay, so there's the down pipe going down, 400mm instead of 300mm alloy joiner tube, whatever they're called, hose joiner, 70mm diameter, and then my existing duct here. So we've got a 70mm 90 degree and a 70mm 60, not 45, 60. Okay, but if you want to know more about the catch can and the plumbing, have a look at my catch can upgrade videos, part 1 and part 2. I was going to do this in part 3, but I'll do this as a separate video. Okay, so that is it. Right, I need to get the wheel back on and then I can start the car. Now I can actually start the car probably now, carefully. Let's just have a look and see. I just want to know if it actually runs with this new intake. Hold it. Right, let's see what happens. Right, there you go. Okay, it's a lot easier when it's not on the jack. Right, okay, there we go. It works. Engine running. Right, I'm going to tidy up now, put the wheel back on, get the car down, go for a test drive. Hope that video was useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.